can have your comments. Evergreen Paints, a locally owned and operated painting and decorating company offering all aspects of commercial and residential painting. Do it once, do it right. Check out a program of contact details and see what all about the signage and the results board. Go down and have a look at them. That's right here behind our grid, so great opportunity. Thank you indeed to Evergreen Paints.
I'm just noticing he's got Dennis Charlotte in second position on the grid. I see he's starting from pit lane, so this should be an interesting one. What a launch from a Grant Ramage. He gets off from 30, so we're going to lead into the first quarter, I reckon, that someone can beat him down there. And Dennis is away as well from the back of the grid, so it could be an interesting race with the guy qualifying in second coming through the pack, but we'll see how it goes.
All right, so what we've talked about here is the fact that Tim MacArthur, 39, was top qualifier ahead of Dennis Charlotte, who started out of pit lane, and then with Grant Ramage. We're going to get Sam with the binoculars on, young eyes, and Sam straight coming over the top of us when you can see. We've got one making a clear break, and in fact the rider's gone from 4th to 2nd.
Yeah, it's actually Joe Sawyer in the lead, the young man on the other KTM that's out there, and Tim MacArthur's going to potentially make a move. He does, goes up the inside into the hairpin. Service as usual for Tim MacArthur, taking back the lead. Oh, it's very, very cramped and crowded in there on the first lap, as it always is. But no, it's going to be an excellent race, I think, for Tim. He's going to look to want to stretch the legs on that Kawasaki and get away from the gap, while Dennis is going to have to hunt through the pack, because those two really have been the class of the field so far this year.
Is it fair to say in easy money that put Tim on the slowest bike in this field by capacity, by size, by performance, and Tim MacArthur could still win?
Oh, absolutely. Last year, when on the 250, he did amazing things on that 250. The times he was doing were absolutely unbelievable. And I've ridden that 250, those ones, for 3 or 4 years in New Zealand, and I was never within 3 or 4 seconds of Tim's best time. So I really have to hand it to him. He's riding these bikes absolutely brilliantly.
And look at that gap he's opened up here already, looking absolutely fabulous to see as he comes down into the Dunlop Dipper for the first time. And if you have a look at page 24 on your program, the Norjo Motorcycles lightweight racing class, interesting to note as well, Sam, of course, there's no lap records because this is all brand new this year.
Well, that's exactly right. Brand new.
The next year's program we'll have somebody's name there for the first time, and maybe it's already going to be this man, Tim MacArthur.
Absolutely.
He is all class here. Everything Tim has touched, but he's not been one of those riders to have ever boasted himself. He's not one to have said, well, the next step I'm making is the 600s or to go to Superbikes. He's always aim low, but been a winner down low as well. So you can say his winning record probably one of the best of any rider in the last 5 years.
I would have to say so. He won a 125 GP National Championship many years ago now. He did ride a 600 for a few years, but he never really adapted to the bigger bikes. One of these riders that is just fantastic on a small bike and just knows how to get every little inch of speed out of the smaller bikes. And you could say from the track, talk around the track, says that the Kawasaki is a little bit slower than potentially the Yamaha and the KTM, and yet he's riding it just superbly. And really, as you can see, he's really stretching the legs on it. He's making that gap, and I think that's going to be his plan. He wants to get his head down. He likes riding on his own. He likes having his own race, and he's just going to get away at the front and try and do his own thing.
Sam, all right, weather conditions out there, man, this morning looking like it was nice and warm, not a cloud in the sky, clouded over, 2 little drops of rain. Everybody went, oh, there was that panic, but no, of course it's come to nothing. Now the sun coming out. What do you think now about the track temperature? How's this for good racing today?
Yeah, well, it will be good racing. The sun's come out now, which will be good for it, because I was out there before and there's a pretty cold wind out there, and it's keeping the track temperatures down, which is why I think we saw a couple of crashes in qualifying. Both Tim MacArthur and Dennis Charlotte actually threw it down the road in qualifying, but now that with the sun out a wee bit, we should hopefully get a bit more heat into the temperatures. But the other good thing about this year, we have all of them on street tyres. On road tyres, there's a homologated tyre list, so the track temperature shouldn't affect the outright grip as much as in previous years when they were allowed to put race tyres on the front.
All right, so our lightweight class effectively meaning that we can get everybody into racing. Some of these lightweight bikes actually cheaper than what 250 production bikes were in comparison a few years ago. But you're talking of getting into a race bike at sort of $8,000.
Yep,
amazing money. Because remembering that these are all bikes that are ready to go on the street, so your resale for them afterwards is straight back to somebody else that wants to go commuting, maybe lose a couple of $1,000 whippy. What a great way to start racing.
Yep, these are all very popular commuter bikes. We just saw Grant Ramage make a move on Joe Sawyer, and then he chopped his nose off going into the dipper, and it was a very, very close move. Grant has probably...
a bit of carnage over there. Wow, we've had 3 of them.
2 or 3 going to the dipper.
3 down there at least, and one of them sideways and up over on the dirt side. So we've got 3 of them there. That's well controlled. You've got somebody who's stopped with the officials over there as well, so that's a withdrawal, maybe potentially a bike problem. And in fact, with 1, 2, 3, 4, you've got a 5th bike through there. Wow, Sam, we've already had some carnage. Great news is everybody's talking and walking away from it.
Yes, well, it's always good to see. People are still up and about, getting their bikes out of the way as Tim just continues to stretch that lead. But there's a good battle coming on now for 2nd place, and Joe is back past Grant Ramage. Joe Sawyer back on the KTM, back past the Yamaha. We've got Richard Willits in there on the other Yamaha R3. It looks like Jacob Pearce, perhaps. We've got
Gav Veltmeyer's the one I just want to add in there,
yes.
Sam, because that's GVR Racing, and Gav's a good competitor, very consistent over championship, and proved it again with another good Suzuki series, and he was tucked in there for about 4th place, and I'm thinking we're looking back at that darker coloured bike that he's got. He's the mechanic out of Coleman Suzuki in Auckland City, and always travels for a lot of quality events all around the country, so although we wouldn't call Ruapuna his home track, he's certainly no stranger to it either.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
this is another Tim MacArthur show, Sam, for my money. Man, oh man, he's just showing everybody up here, doesn't matter what the bike is on, he is just sensational.
Yeah, well, I firmly believe that Dennis Charlotte was the only man who might have been able to take it to Tim MacArthur today, but unfortunately that pit lane start meant that he wasn't able to get the chance. But he is, he's still 2 more races this weekend. We still might see a good battle up the front there between them yet.
Sorry, Spider? 31 degree track temperature. Thank you, Spider. Always good to get that update. He's got the proper heat thermometer here that's able to detect that track temperature. Always different to air temperature or other ground temperature, e.g. dirt. So track temperature, that's 31 degrees. Boxing Day Wanganui in 64 degrees to give you an idea of what we're like. Oh, here we go in the slipstream and trying to get up past the run through past Ramage on that occasion. I'll tell you what, that Timaru Yamaha paint scheme is beautiful. So well done to Grant Ramage. The damage man himself has certainly got it together. So that looked to be Joseph, who was getting the slipstream on him, and hopefully an opportunity to go through. So there's Joseph as well. Now, Sam, you'll know more about Joseph, but he too opting for one of these new KTM RC390s. Take the time over again. Would you choose one?
Well, to be honest, I rode the Kawasaki in Australia, and I think they're probably, as an all-round package, are very, very good. The extra top end on the KTM would be nice. Of course, it's always good to have that extra power, but I've really liked the Kawasaki. But the great thing about this class, as you can see, Kawasaki's battling with KTMs, battling with Yamahas. Yeah. You can choose any brand you like, and you will be able to get a good bike and be able to go racing. And this is a fantastic battle for 2nd place now. Joe Sawyer and Grant Ramage and Richard Willits battling hard, pulling a small gap on Gavin Veltmeyer, it looks like. Kevin Goddard a little bit further back, and then Dean Watson, who is, to be honest, probably one of the heaviest riders out there on the grid, but still holding on there. It shows you what the slipstream does.
And you go and have a look at this man who's in front. He's just coming through the Southern Salvage S's here at the moment, and you just look at him. If you just glance across there at the moment, you'd actually think, oh, this guy must be just in cruise mode. He doesn't hang out to the side like other guys do. He's just so smooth and consistent. When you have a look at Tim MacArthur, you don't actually realise that he's the champion of this lineup.
Yeah, well, that's right. He's got such a nice, relaxed style on the bike. If you're a young rider coming up, or if you're an older guy with kids looking and you want to find someone to model a style on, Tim MacArthur has an absolutely natural style on a motorcycle, and it's showing out now.
And if we can add in, if you want, I'd love somebody else to model their whole life on around this man as well, just his whole demeanour and presentation, and the fact that he's not a noter.
He's incredibly humble for all his achievements. He works very hard. He's a pilot, lives up here in Christchurch now, but he's originally from down south. He's just a great guy. And Richard Willits has come through to 2nd place ahead of Joe and Grant Ramage, and he looks like he's pulling a little bit of a gap and just stretching out that group. Richard has been around for many years as well, another one of these old boys down from Timaru, and I know they wouldn't mind me saying it. He has been competing for many years. I rode against him on the 250, and he's just a perennial front runner in the 250 class, and he's just moved on to this R3, taking to it like a duck to water. But Joe Sawyer, what a run up to pothole through, and we might see an attack for 2nd place. No, Joe misses out on the drive out of pothole, but plenty more racing to go yet today.
And in fact, we do want to call it now ICOM, which is its new name, so everybody just knows it as Pothole. But as we've got the nice Mike Perro Motorsport Park layout here, and they, of course, are the corporate sponsors of this track, so we'll give them the credit as well. A lot of people know when you say talk to a racer about Pothole, they know exactly where you're talking about on a circuit. That's what good advertising can do for you. And we take an opportunity as well to look and see what is the new name. So ICOM, as we acknowledge down there, and ICOM, of course, quality radio products. What do they say? The largest radio system specialist. Well, racing brought to us by Norjo Motorcycles, full range of new and used motorcycles, ATVs and scooters, including a ZX-10R with ABS at $26,595 plus on-road costs. Your one-stop motorcycle shop. In fact, I can recall over the years, I think Norjo's have been sponsors of Motorcycling Canterbury for as many years as I can recall. So a great local shop, proud to support Motorcycling Canterbury.
They certainly have. Now, if we take a look back, there's actually 2 classes in this class, a class within a class, which is pretty common these days in New Zealand racing. The 250 production class, led at the moment by Lewis Dray, who is a long way ahead of, it looks like, Alex Bowers in the 250s, who are having a good battle with one of the 300s. And that's another good thing about this class. If you get on a 300, you don't think maybe I'm not quick enough yet to go and front it with these front boys, is you're still going to have good battles all the way down because you've got the guys on the 250 give you a wee hurry up and push you along. So Lewis Dray, the first of the 250s, he's lap times wise doing 54s, which is I think about as quick as he was going in qualifying, so he's really pushing on. Looking at lap times of Tim MacArthur, he did a 48 in this race, which is close to his 47 that he was doing in qualifying, so he's really at a hot pace, and there's just no one else that can keep up with him today.
Well, great to watch, as well pointed out, our two classes, the Evergreen Paints 250 production and our new Norjo Motorcycles lightweight racing class, and Sam 250 production, one of those classes that we were building so much faith in and hoping to resurrect it like the glory days of 250, but now all of a sudden we're finding the manufacturers starting to drift away from a 250cc and just want to get that more of a bike with more punch to sell on that global market. So potentially what we were liking to aim for as a class, maybe the manufacturers have moved away from. So
yeah, well, that's right.
you've having ridden the 300 in Australia, that much better than the 250?
Oh, they feel a heck of a lot better, and which is a strange thing in the Kawasaki because it's just the top end that's different, plus they have a slipper clutch, which is really nice. Everything else is the same, the chassis, the bottom end, the gearbox ratios might be slightly different, but they do feel like a much better bike. They just give that just enough that they don't feel like you're on a slow commuter bike. You feel like you're riding something really racy, and then you can go down, as you said before, go into dealer and buy them for 5, 6, 7 grand depending on which model you're getting, and they're a really good street bike. They're a really big selling street bike in New Zealand, all 3 of the makes we have, and they're also really, really good race bikes that you can see out there. If you can pedal one of these around like Tim MacArthur, you're doing a very, very good job. That is for sure.
All right, so the way we're seeing it down here in its livery with fairings, etc., just the same as what somebody would go into Norjo Motorcycles and buy that 300?
Yeah, well, that's all you're doing, really. All you're doing is changing them to a race fairing so that if you do fall off, you can repair them easier. You're putting a pipe on them to make them sound a little bit better, and you're just changing the fuel injection a wee bit. Yeah. Looks like
Something salvage. Something salvage.
Oh, yes, thank you. Over in there. Thank you, Spider, with the other pair of eyes for us at the moment. And the bike in the Southern Salvage S is here over in the infield there is Dennis Charlotte, maybe having to have pushed it. Was there a reason, any pit talk as to why he'd started here in the lane, Sam? Did you get any idea why a man as capable as him all of a sudden was having a disadvantage?
Well, it was a pretty big crash I think he had in qualifying, and I don't know if they got the bike ready. In fact, if I was to look at that bike he's pushing, that could well be his actual 250. Yeah, so he's actually... Yeah, he's gone away from his KTM, which is obviously still being repaired, and he's actually riding his spare 250. So that's obviously, well, they couldn't get it repaired in time, so he just decided to swing a leg over his old 250 and take that out. But it hasn't gone too well for him at the end of the day because he's still...
And this is Dennis Charlotte we're talking about. This is Mr. Consistency. This is the all-round good guy.
Well, that's right.
I was just wondering, is he
Yeah, good question. So what Spider's saying is, okay, now for his points, will his points stand? Because he's actually on a 250 bike and gone into the lightweight class. Very good question.
Maybe a moot point because he hasn't finished the race anyway, so we'll see what goes on. But we're coming through. We've got the white flag going to be shown to Tim MacArthur the next time he comes around, and it really has been an absolute dominating performance from Tim. I just am absolutely amazing about how quick he goes on this bike, and you'd be very, very surprised to get anyone go anywhere near as quick on this bike as Tim is going. So he comes forward, he takes the white flag. We go a little bit further back and we're looking at a back marker at Richard Willits, just get around the outside of him. Richard's actually pulled away from the battle for second, which is very impressive from the old fellow. He's actually riding fantastically well.
I hope he didn't hear that.
Oh, I'm sure he'd forgive me. And then we go back to third, which is a very good battle between Grant Ramage and Joe Sawyer. Joe's just blasted past him in the slipstream. That shows you really that the KTM, it's got a lot of speed on it, but we'll see what Grant can do on the Yamaha. He's a very seasoned competitor, all the way back to the original 250 production days, back in the glory days, as they say. And we'll see if he can fight back at Joe as they go around that back marker going down into ICOM corner.
The only thing is I saw Grant Ramage at John Hepburn's 50th birthday party during the year, and he had one too many Savory, and I think that could now start to come back and haunt him. Because, man, when it's got these little bikes, any one of those guys would love to lose 10 kg, Sam, and be as thin and as light as you, and that's why Tim MacArthur, for all those years, doesn't seem to have added 1 kilo, has he?
No, he's incredibly lightweight. As a guy, every kg counts, and you can just see the visual right there, out of the hairpin. Joe pulls a few bike lengths on Grant, and it's probably purely because of the weight of Grant.
There we go. And so there's 2 points that he's going to kill you about afterwards, but we'll back up, Happy to attend your funeral no matter where it is, when it is. So there we are, results live, loud and proud here as we're going to have Spider going trackside to do our podium, the first podium of the day with Tim MacArthur, Richard Willits, and keen just to look at that second group in there as we were talking about, because the race has been, I suppose, noted for the Norjo Motorcycles new lightweight class, and that's why on page 24 it doesn't have any lap times for lap records, because this is a brand new class. Ctas in this year's Road Racing Championships. And of course it goes back though to our Evergreen Paints 250 production racing with a lap record of a 150.640 by Bailey Perrodin. And Bailey, of course, who is racing this weekend as well. And we've got
That's
Connor.
Tim over the line, taking the checkered flag. Fantastic from Tim, like I said. Richard's going to be next up. It looks like Grant couldn't quite attack Joe Sawyer on the last lap, so he's going to come through for fourth. We do have looks like a drag to the line between Gavin Beltmire and Kevin Goddard. Who's going to make it? Is the KTM going to get there? Is the Kawasaki? Looks like that KTM punch off the corner just gave him enough space ahead of Kevin Goddard, followed not far behind by, that was a back marker, sorry. Here comes another back marker. My apologies, people. Brendan Booth, he's gone over the line. And then we're waiting for the first of the 250s, which is going to be Alex Bowers. And he's coming out of the sweeper now. He's in a bit of a gaggle there. Who's going to take it to the line? We'll have a look.
So do you think this is the first of the 250s? Look at this, side to side, side to side, side to side. Oh, maybe to change.
It looks like Lewis might have got him on the line. I think he did today, actually. Lewis Dray takes Alex Bowers on the line for the first of the 250s and the first of the podiums.
Wow, how good's that? So that goes back to the old